It's almost impossible for somebody to say that they don't like whiskey. What it's more likely is they've just never found a whiskey that they enjoy. It's about the right time for China to start taking its own presence in this industry and making whiskey in China for China. Our initial capacity will be 1.31 million LPA. So that will equate to about 3 million bottles a year.
Wait, we are talking about a distillery invested by more than 200 whiskey fans from over 30 countries in Fujian province. What is it like? Well, let's go with Jay.
My name's Jay Robertson. I'm originally from Birmingham in the UK, and I've been in China now on and off since 1998. Coming in, let me show you around. So we always start the tour at this building because this is the start of the production process. So you're getting a bit of a special treatment because you'll be able to see things from here. This is basically the beating heart of where everything begins. So this gets filled up with 7 tons of grain and 30 tons of water. Then we start the cooking process. Once the cooking process is finished, we cool it down, pump it into these fermentation tanks, add yeast and start the fermentation process. And then what we're going to make in here, it's like a sweet beer. If you imagine beer but very, very sweet, then that would then, once it's fermented, we pump it into the next building. I'll show you how we do that. That's quite interesting. So, welcome to the still house. As far as we know, this is the biggest still house in the world. There is nothing that is bigger in terms of footprint or height. There are distilleries that have more capacity or more stills, but they have multiple still houses. So to have this open plan, nobody in the world has this. The fermented wash comes over to here, first to this still. This is called a wash still. You heat it up, it evaporates up the neck, goes over the lye pipe, into the condenser, into the subcooler over there, and then down into a big tank underneath here. Then that tank then feeds these stills. And this is where you get the second distillation, and this is where you start doing the interesting things, which is cutting the distillate. So if you look over here, this is the feed for the wash still, just goes straight down. Whereas with the spirit stills, we have 2. So what happens is the first bit that comes through, we don't want that. So that goes into there. Then the middle cut goes into there, and then the tails back into there as well. Yeah. This is like a really old traditional thing that dates from, ancient history in the UK a couple hundred years ago. It's called a spirit safe because it's normally padlocked. And what would happen, it's for the taxman to stop you cheating because they taxed on everything you produced. So with it locked away, they could measure how much you'd produce, and that's how much tax you would pay. The taxation laws have changed now. It's based on litres of pure alcohol sold, but that's the history behind it, and everybody expects to see these. So that's why we have them, but it's purely decoration.
Is there any concern about tax policies before building the distillery?
If you compare the taxation of alcohol in China versus many other countries in the world, it's actually really quite low. If we do a like-for-like comparison between China and the UK, we'll probably pay about 1/3 of the tax that we would pay as a producer in the UK. But then if you go to other countries where the taxation is even higher, there are places in the world like Australia, it's 100% tax on alcohol. It's absolutely crazy. So from our point of view, the taxation here isn't an issue. It's actually really, really aggressively competitive. Obviously I've been gone from the UK for a long time, but when I used to be in the UK and I used to have my own job and my own business and things like this, the amount of time that you would waste dealing with even the most trivial issue. In the UK, it was a case of you'd have a phone number, you could call a helpline, you'd spend 3 hours in a queue, and eventually when you get through to somebody, it would be somebody so junior that they'd refer you to somebody else. So it was always easier to actually go to the tax office and use a whole day. With China, everything's online. Everything is online, and it's not just online in the terms of, you know, the taxation for your company. It's online with everything you do. You know, if you go to the shop in the UK, you'd have to ask for a VAT receipt to make it tax deductible. In China, you get your smartphone, you scan a QR code, bingo, you've got it. So in terms of the efficiency and the amount of time that you save in China, I don't think there's any comparison. Absolutely no comparison. Everything is a lot easier here.